Okay, well, welcome everyone. This is Hugh Culver, and I'm really excited to be here with the SLAP community, but also to be sharing some of the lessons I've been learning by working with now hundreds of online experts, but also people that are making the majority of their income online. And so what I'm going to be sharing with you today are sort of inside secrets. It's what I'm doing within my own company, but it's also what we are advising the blogging community and online community to do. There's hundreds and ones of different ways to slice this, but what I'm going to show you are the ones that the techniques and strategies that we have seen to get working. But first of all, let me tell you a little bit about where I am coming from, who I am. So I have been a professional speaker for actually over 22 years, worked with major corporations all across North America and into Mexico. And in that capacity, I've done over 1,100 presentations. I'm also the author of Give Me a Break, which is a national bestseller. I own something called the Business of Speaking School, which has now got students from 9 different countries. I've been a blogger since 2013, and in the last 4 years, I've had a company called SOS, Standout Social, which specializes in getting traffic for bloggers, which is one of the biggest problems that bloggers tend to have. So here's what we're going to cover today, just 4 simple things in the next 60 minutes. First of all, I'm going to talk about why the online world is so important, but also specifically about blogging, because of the 3 major mediums that experts are using online, which is audio, visual, and written. Blogging is actually not only the strongest medium for B2B marketing, but also seems to be the most universally accepted. This is being proven consistently by top social media experts and also top corporations that are using blogs now internationally. We're talking about that, talk about how to convert traffic to buyers, 3 ways to measure your results, and then finally, the one most important goal that you need to be thinking about. So I want you to think of this as kind of like a compressed lesson in 60 minutes. I'm going to give you the best of what I know about developing profits online. I can talk lots about online courses and all sorts of other strategies, but what I'm going to be arguing today is that, first of all, you have to get traffic before you can start trying to monetize your online business. So here's why I'm so big on blogging. We're in a world now where, I also will be offering you a small little offer at the end, which you might find interesting. So why blogging? So in the world of social media marketing, in the world of online everything, what we get a lot is what's called push marketing. So, hey, come to my free webinar, which is what we're doing today, 20% off, a limited time, so there's an urgency push, buy today. So lots of ways that businesses are trying to get us to take action. There's nothing wrong with that, but what's unique about a blog in the middle of all of that and all the things that are going on with Instagram and Facebook, that are going on with LinkedIn and going on with Twitter, a blog stands out because what it basically says is, let me help you. The strategy of a blog is that we're just basically sharing really excellent, valuable information. So this is called pull marketing. So if push marketing is do this and you'll get this, or limited time offer, or we've got something on sale, what pull marketing does is it attracts the right customers to you. So how does that work? Well, push marketing, when I place an ad on Facebook and I find my target audience, I do all that sort of stuff, I am hoping that my money is going to the right audience. With pull marketing, like a blog, people only go there if they're interested. They're only going to go there if they're interested in that topic. And this is why now over 40% of American companies are using blogs, including really traditional companies like Clorox and Wells Fargo and Best Western. You would never have seen this happening before, but now in this really crowded marketplace that we're in, blogs are standing out as being actually a real strategic advantage. And so here's some really simple examples that might inspire you. So Joanna Penn in England, so she's now creating a 6-figure income by using her blog to attract people to her business, which is to help authors to become more successful. And she does it all from her home. Her blog is the main traffic generator to that website. Here's another example. This is Krista Maneri. She has something called Orlando Date Night Guide, which talk about a niche. Basically, it's things to do with your partner in Orlando. She now has 3 different cities. And again, she's been able to generate a 6-figure income by using a blog to attract traffic to the site where she sells advertising. Sumit Bansal, he's in India. He's an expert in Excel. He has a blog on how to be successful with Excel, of all things. Here's a guy that had a full-time job, and after only 18 months was able to leave his job and be full-time making his money online by teaching people how to use Excel more effectively. The last example is Aaron Chase. So Aaron has a site called $5 Dinners. Brilliant idea. Basically, it's for parents, moms that want to know how to live on a budget. And it's been so successful. I mean, she now has millions of viewers coming to her blog. It's all based on a blog. And she has now gone from 0 to over $100,000 in income in just 2 years. So the blog is the common denominator. And again, the cool thing about a blog is that you can attract your perfect customer. They're only going to come to the blog because they're interested in what you are writing about. So now we are seeing that according to HubSpot last year, 53% of marketers are saying that a blog, in terms of their content creation strategy, they say a blog is their top inbound marketing priority. Now just think about that for a moment. That is competing with YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. That is competing with all sorts of other possible strategies. And they're saying that over half of the marketers are now saying blog is their main content marketing strategy. HubSpot also said, and this is really interesting, it's similar to podcasts, is that 75% of their blog views and 90% of their blog leads are coming from older posts. And we see this consistently when I look at the analytics of my site, but also our client sites, is that we see that old blog posts are generating fantastic traffic. In fact, when I consult with bloggers, typically I surprise them by showing them that some of their older blog posts, like a year ago or 18 months ago, are actually pulling more traffic than their newer blog posts, which is great news. It means that you can actually resurface that blog post. But what it also means is that the effort that you put into creating that blog post is still making you money. It's still working for you, even though it's 18 months old. You will not see that with a Facebook advertisement. You will not see that with a social media update. But you'll see that because people don't really care how old the blog post is. If they're searching and they find great information, they are, I mean, I have a blog post about multiple Google calendars. I don't even remember how to create multiple Google calendars, but at some point, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, I wrote a blog post because I had created multiple Google calendars. I thought it was really cool, so I created a blog post. That is still one of the top 3 traffic generators to my website. And I literally can't even remember how to do what I wrote about. But my point is that you won't find that with lots of other advertising. You won't find out. Like if people go on YouTube and they see a video that's 2 years old, they probably won't watch it. But on a blog, it's not that important. Now, what I'm going to show you next is complicated, so brace yourself. But this, to me, is the heart of any online marketing strategy, especially if you're in the expert community. So if you're a consultant, a coach, an author, whatever, this is the heart of it. And it's taken me a long time to understand how this works, but it's actually changed how I explain to bloggers and to businesses. When they ask me, why should I have a blog? This is how I explain it. Okay, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to use the blog to provide helpful advice. That's what it's for. So it's a how-to article. It's an article about something you didn't know. It's a book review. It's a roundup post. But it's something that your consumers are going to find super, super useful. So useful, they want to share it. Next, we're going to invite them in with a free offer. And that free offer could be anything from an ebook to a quiz, to a resource guide, to a free video, to a chapter from your book. There's lots and lots of options here. Sometimes it's a 15-minute coaching call, but that free offer is going to be an invitation to join your list. And you're going to make that very overt. You're going to let them know that they are joining a list. And so a simple invitation could be something like, receive this information to your inbox. So be the first to receive this information to your inbox. So it's just simply, I'm going to give you my email because now I don't have to search for this in the future. man, I love what you're writing about. I want to receive it to my inbox. Great. So that's the free offer. Next is a small product offer. So this is where most companies are missing out. So this is like a $7 or $19 or $20 offer. It's something that is going to get them involved. It's going to get them to buy something, and it's going to get them involved with your business. It also helps to build loyalty because now you get to deliver. And then finally, you have your money product. So, in my case, they go from a free offer to my book to my keynote. So they're going from $0 to $10,000 in that sequence. Now, it's a number game. So obviously not everybody will go up the pyramid. That's why it's a pyramid. Less and less will actually get to the top. But the idea is that you have this sales funnel in place to start directing traffic to it. Now, the big question is, how do I get them there? Well, that is where you actually can use social media. So this is where we're using our Twitter feed, our Facebook feed, LinkedIn feed. We're using webinars and email. We're using Pinterest. We're even using live, meetings. So for example, when I give a keynote presentation live, I will actually have a simple form that they can fill in, and that's going to invite them to join my list. So there's lots of strategies. The trick with that bottom line strategy is to make it a system. This is really important. This is where I see a lot of entrepreneurs burning out, is because they're constantly reinventing their funnel that's going to get people into their sales funnel. They're reinventing it and they're getting exhausted. So one day they go, crazy on Twitter. The next day they start shooting a video, and before they get that finished, they're up on Facebook. And so that's going to burn you out. What you want is a system where you replicate it and do it the same thing over and over again. So in my case, my blog has been really successful for nurturing my audience, for building a bigger list, which I am using effectively to move larger products, but also it's for staying top of mind. So when I publish a blog, I'm always thinking, so I'm a speaker who speaks on productivity. And I've been speaking for over 22 years. I speak 24 to 30 times a year. That's all I'm happy with. That's perfect for me as far as the limit goes. I only speak in Canada. That's my preference, because that's just my choice. It's not because I don't want to go to America, but I don't want to travel that much for work. So if I'm going to go and travel, it's going to be with my family or my wife. But for work, I'll travel in Canada, and that's it. And that's just because I'm old and crotchety, and I don't really need to do it that much anymore. So when I post a blog, it's designed for that audience. It's designed for my event planners. I'm going to write about productivity. So I'm going to write about something that I know was really popular when I was speaking to their audience or to an audience. And what I see consistently is then people respond and say, hey, I wonder if Hugh would come and speak. Hey, I wonder if Hugh would come and speak. Hey, would Hugh come and speak? And this goes on throughout the whole year. My blog is keeping me top of mind. And then they write to me and say, oh, that just reminded me, we have an event. Now, here's an example that just happened. I sent out a blog post, and this went out last October the 8th. I send mine out at 7 a.m. on Sunday. This person opened it at 7:15, and at 10:30 the same morning on a Sunday, she invited me to come and speak at her event, which turned into a $13,000 sale. So blogs are not some sort of amorphous passive thing that floats around. Blogs can actually be a sales tool if you know what you're doing. And that's what I'm going to show you next, is how to actually monetize your blog so that it becomes an effective sales tool. Because I want you to imagine, with all the things that you're working on in your day and your week and all the strategies and, your sales campaigns and your events and your launches and your next book and your website, wouldn't it be amazing if you had this assistant? So think of it as an assistant working behind the scenes every minute of the day to nurture your audience, but also to invite more people in. That's what a blog can do. Now, again, you can go on. If you love videos, go for it. Knock yourself out on YouTube. If you love audio, go ahead, knock yourself out and have a podcast. And I've done all of those, but I have found consistently the blog, particularly for B2B, the blog is one of the best ways to create long-term sales effect but also to feed people into your funnel. So I'm going to show you 3 ways to monetize your blog. And all 3, by the way, it's not an option. You need all 3, but there's 3 ways to do it. There's 3 steps. You need all 3. So let's look at the first one. The first one is pretty simple. You have to answer valuable questions. You can't, like, and I'm totally guilty of this. When I started blogging, I wrote about something my wife said. I wrote about something I saw in the newspaper. I wrote about, whatever. It was random. But once I started to answer valuable questions, my blog became better. So here's an example. You can go on your Ask Your list. So what do you guys, what is it that is bothering you? What do you want to work on for 2018? That's where I came up with a blog about Younger Next Year, which is a book review. And that was one of my most successful blog posts, as I asked my list, what's their issue? And they said, taking care of themselves. You can look at what clients are asking you. I wrote a blog post called PowerPoint Primer that was very successful because my clients consistently ask me about Keynote on a Mac and PowerPoint on a PC. And even though I do not want to pretend that I really am an expert in those, I've been using them for over 20 years, so I know more than most people, so I wrote a blog post because that's what they were asking me. I can look at my competitors' blogs. So I saw this fantastic blog post, and it was all about how this person had failed at their 2017 goals. And I thought, that was so cool. He actually graded himself. He gave himself like C-, B+. So he took each one of his major 2017 goals, and he wrote a blog review at the end of the year about how his failures. And so I did the same thing, and I gave him credit in the blog. It was the most comments I've received in 2017. Actually, I think I published it at the beginning of this year, but it was the most comments I've received in months and months on that one blog post. And I got the idea by looking at, I wouldn't call him a competitor, by looking at other blogs. You can look at comments. That's why I wrote the blog, Please Stop Making To-Do Lists. People are asking about that. You can look at trends. That's why I wrote the blog, How to Overcome Procrastination. You can look at seasonal events. That's why I wrote the blog, Books for the Holiday Season, which was super successful. By the way, here's a little trick. If you do a book review, make sure that, especially in Twitter, you use the @ name of those authors, and they'll be more than happy to retweet that post because they see their name in print. So if you write a book review, make sure you let the author know by using their @ name in your tweets. And then finally, you can look at the traffic to your website by going into Google Analytics under behavior. Gives you a beautiful list. It's all organized. This is the most traffic you've received to all your different blog posts. And that's why I wrote Why I'm Quitting. Because what I saw was that articles that I had written, blog posts that I had written, which were about failures and mistakes, really got a lot of traffic. So I wrote an article about why I'm quitting. And that was really a good traffic article. Okay, so number 1 is I got to answer valuable questions. How can I find that out? Well, of course, you can go into your search bar and you can type in your topic area. So you can type in customer service, time management, leadership, family, family relations. You can type in, how to be more successful, as a leader. All you can do that. But here's a tool I think you're going to love, and it's actually called Answer the Public, and it's a really fun tool to go to because the results are instant, but also they're incredibly creative. It's all based on searching something like a dozen different platforms like Bing and Quora and Google, and it pulls it all together. So first of all, you get this really crazy video that comes up when you go to answerthepublic.com of this really strange looking guy he's called the Seeker. So this is the Seeker, and the Seeker is waiting for you to type in your request. So let's say I typed in networking. It gives me this crazy mind map of networking. And then if I go further down the page, it breaks down all of these aspects of networking. So using the word who or what or where or can, it gives me those. And if you go further, it gives you even more. It gives you analogies. So it's this fantastic instant way to get brilliant ideas on what could I write about networking? And then suddenly you turn that into a blog post. Okay, so number 1, answer valuable questions. Number 2 is you have to keep them reading. When I write a blog post, I'm constantly thinking, these people could click away at any time. So I'm going to give you a bunch of strategies that I use on my blog post that's going to keep them on board. So here's stupid things speakers do on stage. One of my most successful articles, this was a roundup post. So I actually reached out to a bunch of my colleagues and friends and got their ideas on what are the mistakes speakers do on stage. I knew they'd love to share this because we all love to point fingers at everybody else. Here's what I do when I publish a blog post. First of all, I write a headline that's going to grab the audience, and that's hard. So that's the last thing that I do. Next is I use a bold featured image that's going to get people's attention. I put text on top, which you can easily do in Canva or a tool like that. So I put text on top. I use a very short opening. So what I want to do is I want to draw the reader into my blog. So the opening is very short. Sometimes it's just a short little sentence. Next is I break up my paragraphs with lots of white space. We do not want to overwhelm the reader. This should not be like reading the encyclopedia. It should be an enjoyable read that they could literally have their smartphone out while they're on they're commuting, and they could be reading your article. So do not make it look heavy. Next is I use subheadings to break it up. I use multiple images. I invite the reader to more information. So either my blog is set up so that it has suggested blog posts down below, or I just simply list them. I'll list like 3 more blog posts that are related to the speaking business. So there is a bunch of things that any one of you can do that's going to immediately, and I would encourage you to retrofit old blog posts. So a really simple exercise is to go into your blog and look at your highest performing blogs. All right. So an easy way to do that is to log into Google Analytics, go to behavior on the left-hand side. It'll give you a list of your blog posts in order from most successful to least successful, most traffic to least traffic. Grab the top 3 and then retrofit them and make them even better. And you can either repost them with a new date or just simply publish them again on the same date. So this is really important. Let me show you a mistake that I see a lot of people doing, and that is that they link people off their website. Now this is kind of crazy. It's sort of like imagine you spend all this money on advertising, and then people arrive at your store and there's a whole bunch of signs telling them where to go and get other stuff. So here's you have signs going to all of your competition. It'd be insane. Well, here's a blog post, for example, and there's 353 words in this blog post, and there was 11 links taking me off the blog post. It doesn't make any sense at all. I used to do this, and I would link to Wikipedia, or why would I take people off my site? So, for example, if I look at one of my blog posts, here's one that I wrote not too long ago, and it is 900 words, and there's 9 links, and only one of them takes them off the site, and it's to a colleague's website. So there was 2 links to my book. There was a link to another blog post, this one about procrastination, a link to a blog post about productivity, a link to a blog about lists and productivity, a link to a blog about willpower, a link to SOS, my social media service, and 1 link off the site to a colleague's site. So if you want to keep people reading on your site, if you got to keep your links pointed internally. So here's another great exercise. Take these top performing blog posts. Let's say there's 3 of them or 4 or 5 that you really think are great. They've done really well for you, or you've gotten a lot of comments or traffic or social shares. Now go to your last 10 blog posts and make sure that they all point to those blog posts. So create links within your last 10 blog posts that point to your high performing blog posts. The idea is really simple. Basically, we want to give people more of what they already like. So if they've proven that they love these 3 to 5 blog posts that you wrote maybe a year ago, now you want to give them more. So every time you write a blog post, point to those by putting links into your blog post. It's going to be a really important strategy. It keeps people on your site longer. So just think of it like they're reading your magazine longer. They get to see more of your advertisements, more of your offers. It's going to be better for them and better for you. Okay, so this is all about keeping people reading. Strategy number 3 is you got to move them to action. So, imagine it's like a bookstore that makes everybody really comfortable, but never asks for anything. Eventually that bookstore is going to go out of business. Well, it's the same thing with a lot of websites that I see. It's really comfortable, it's really lovely, it's really well designed, but there's nothing, you're not asking me to do anything. There's no call to action. Like, what am I supposed to respond to? And so one of the first things I ask people to look at is, what is the call to action you want every visitor to take? And then you need to work backwards and make sure that your website points at that. So let's look at how to keep how to get people to take action. Here's how I do it on my website. So on a typical blog, I'm going to have social media shares. So we use SumoMe, which is a free tool which floats alongside my blog, and on a smartphone, it floats across the bottom. That's number one. That's action number one. Please share this blog post. I'm going to make it as easy as possible for you to share this blog post. Action number two, click a link within the blog post that's going to take you to another blog post. Remember, I'm not going to take you off my site, but here you can go and read more information. Action number three, oh, here's a download that you can get. It's going to add you to my list, but it's a great download. You want to read that. Action number four, click to tweet. Here, click this button, this square, and now you can share this blog post with your followers because you like it so much. Oh, action number five, here's an insert about a webinar that's coming up soon. You can click on this and you can register. Oh, action number six, I have a product that you can go and buy. Action number seven, here's related reading. So the idea is that just on my blog post, I have 7 options for you to do something that's going to keep you on my website longer. Now, obviously, ultimately, I want them to go look at the product offer. So, but I'm not, it's a blog is there to be helpful. So I'm not going to be really blatant and say, go, 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 that's going to turn people off. But it's going to be available. I can put it on the right-hand side. I've given them an invitation to join my list, given them an invitation to join my webinar. That's going to be successful. So those are some 3 ways to get people to take action, to monetize your blog. Now, when it comes to your lead magnet, there's lots of fantastic options for how to get people to join your list. And fortunately, it's also really easy to do your research. Just go online, go to blog sites, blogs that you love, and look at what is the invitation that they're using. And what you're going to see is you're going to see options like, tips that are going to, so you're going to, as I said earlier, like just an invitation to receive this blog to your inbox, or a short how-to guide, or a resource list, a checklist, a cheat sheet, a templates. Maybe it's a short video course, a planner, an ebook, recorded webinar, maybe a free book with shipping, you charge for shipping, or maybe even a free coaching session. So it's all based on what you're willing to give away, but it should be valuable and it should be easy to consume. So those are 2 really important things. Valuable, meaning that they can't find this anywhere else. It's going to save a problem for them or get them to their goal faster. So it's going to solve a problem or get them to their goal faster. And it should be easy to consume. So if it's going to be an ebook, I should be able to read it in about 10 minutes. Okay, if it's a recorded webinar, it should not be an hour long. So the whole idea is that if they consume your free offer, they're much more likely to become a loyal follower. But if they just download something and never use it, well, then that's not really going to be a win-win. So look at that. So we've talked about why online marketing is important, why a blog works. We talked about 3 ways to monetize your blog. So answer valuable questions, keep them reading, and move them to action. So now let's talk about, so how do I measure the success of a blog? You see, this is another problem that I see a lot of people that have come to us have, is that they've spent $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 on a website. The website looks fantastic. And then when I look at their website, I realize they don't even have Google Analytics. The web designer didn't even put Google Analytics on their website. So they have absolutely no information. I was just talking to someone yesterday about this. He's in New York. He's got this beautiful website. It really is beautiful. There's videos and whatever. And I looked at it and I realized there's no Google Analytics installed. So he has no historic data in terms of what people are doing on that website. He doesn't know how much traffic he's getting. He doesn't know what pages are working better than others. He doesn't know how long people are spending on the site, nothing. So we need to be able to measure our success. And so fortunately, it's very simple. There's 3 things when it comes to your blog that I think are really important to measure. And what we do on our team is we actually every Tuesday, so as I'm recording this on Wednesday, yesterday, we had our team phone call, and this is the first thing that we look at. And I can tell you, now that we've been doing that for over a year, it has totally transformed my thinking, but also my actions around growing my website, because I'm constantly looking at what the numbers are telling me. You see, what I see all too often is that people put out their content, whether it's a blog or it's YouTube or whatever, and they don't measure anything. So now what they do is they think, well, maybe I should add video, or maybe I should do more on social media, or I should change the images, or I should maybe add some advertising. So they go spend some money on Facebook. Maybe they should do some guest posting or change the frequency or play around with the length of the topics, but they don't really know what's working. So it's all one big experiment. Plus, what it means is that people will be able to influence them to go and spend money when they shouldn't be spending money in that area. So 3 things to measure. So number 1 is your traffic. Number 2 is your topics. And number 3 is your actions. So if you pay it, and I'll go through each one of these, but if you pay attention to these 3 metrics, you will definitely have more success, even if you're starting at the very beginning, even if your traffic is really low, your results are really low. Okay, let's go through these. So, and I've referred to some of these already, but I'm going to show you in more detail. Traffic. So you have to go into Google Analytics. You log in with your Gmail account. It has to be installed on your website, first of all. If you don't have it installed, you need to go to, I'll give you a little link here in the chat box, but if you go to our website, getsos.net, and you search for Google Analytics in the search bar, you'll find 2 articles about Google Analytics. The first one is how to know if it's installed. The second article is how to read Google Analytics. And when you open up Google Analytics, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see this big dashboard. It's going to give you all this information. But what's important is for you to go and get the information sent to you. So fortunately, there's a little button. Right now, it's actually changed. It used to be on the left called email. Now it's on the right and it's called share. But there's a little button at the top. You click on it and this little window will open up. And in that window, you're going to type in your name in the email box. You're going to decide if it's going to come to you as a CSV file. I prefer a PDF, so you change that to PDF. You decide how often you want to get it. I get it once a month, so I change that. What day of the week, and then that's it. You can type a little message like, hey dude, you're amazing, and then hit send, and that's it. It will automatically come to your inbox once a month or once a week or whatever you want. Now, why would I do that? Well, I do it because it's going to remind me of what my numbers look like. And this is what the reports look like. So they come to you and they show you the main dashboard from your website. So if you want more information, of course, you got to go in there, but this will give you the basic numbers. So what you can see is my traffic improving week after week or month after month, right? So as the business owner, it's a great reminder of how well you're doing. As a business owner, it's a great feedback in terms of, is the performance of, like let's say, I was talking to someone the other day, they've hired a VA, and this VA has been working for them, and I said, how's it going with this VA? Well, we're not so sure. Well, so now how do you measure the performance of that VA? Well, if they're doing social media for you, if they're helping you with your blog or whatever, you measure it by looking at, did my traffic improve? That's at least one measure. So in Google Analytics language, that's called users. So are my users improving? Because a user is a unique visitor to your website. And if that number goes up, well, then there's a pretty good chance that's more eyeballs looking at your products and more products that are being sold and more people joining your list. That's a pretty good, simple metric. So you need to know this so you can make better decisions. You cannot be guessing about this. So that's number 1, is to look at your traffic. Number 2 is to look at your topics. Okay, well, how am I'm putting all this effort into my blog. How's it working for me? Well, fortunately, in Google Analytics, you can go to the left-hand side, you can click on behavior, overview, and you're going to get this report on the right-hand side. And this report is going to show you your blog posts that have done really well. So actually you can see in this screenshot, this is a little bit older screenshot, but you can see that the second blog down, how to organize your life with multiple Google calendars. So there it is, still getting 4,597 page views in the last 30 days. So kind of crazy successful, even though that's a really old blog post. So I get that report, and you can get, if you click down the bottom right-hand corner, view full report, you get all sorts of other analytics to go along with it, and you get a full report. But this is a good snapshot for you to get started with. So I want to know what blog posts have performed the best. This is the only way that you're going to know. This is the real numbers. This is going to show you exactly the traffic. And I start with the last 30 days. But you can also go in there and do a comparison. So I could look at the last 30 days compared to the same time frame last year. Or I could look at the last 12 months. But what you want to do is you want to get a relative rating. So in other words, from high to low, which ones performed the best, which ones were terrible, which ones were dogs. So why is it that some of these blog posts just failed miserably? Okay, what is it about them? So for example, I've discovered that if I write about mistakes that I make, people love that. So I have a very evil audience, I suppose. But if I write about mistakes that I make or mistakes that other people make, they love that. So for example, words that get used incorrectly on stage, mistakes that speakers make, they love that. If I write something about a how-to technically, like how to use PowerPoint or something like that, they love that. So I have to just continually remind myself there's certain things that my readers respond really strongly to. And, you know, even though I've got lots of ideas on what to write about, if I write about making money, they love that. Write about making money, they're all over that. So I've got these sort of highlights that I know will always work, and I pull them out of my bag, and then that's what I'll write about. Okay, so number 1 was traffic, number 2 was topics, and then number 3 is going to be action. So here's the action items that I monitor. So number 1 is social shares. Now I'll explain to you in a minute what I mean by this in more detail, but basic idea is that if somebody shares my blog on their social media channel, it's now going to their audience. So it's going to a much bigger audience. I also measure opt-ins to my list. Super important. One of the most important metrics that we look at after revenue is how is our list growing. So typically we like to see at least 150 new people to our list every week as a minimum. Inquiries that come in, obviously, for my work, people that enroll in events that we host, and then obviously people that buy products. So when I meet every week, it looks basically like this. We have a spreadsheet. At the top of the spreadsheet, we show the total number of people that are new coming in. We show whether there's, you know, some of them are so there's unique submissions on the right, 227. Then there's new contacts captured. So in that 7-day period, 192 people came in, and there's a breakdown of what were the opt-in opportunities that worked. And so you can see, as you look at the spreadsheet, as you go down, there's a lot of them that are not working anymore. They're bringing in 1 person a month, so that, or a week. That doesn't make any sense. So I need to get rid of some of those. They've gotten lost or whatever, but at least I have these numbers so I can make that kind of a decision. And so we do that once a week. You can do it every month. You can do it simply by looking at your MailChimp or your Aweber or whatever is the tool that you're using. But I really encourage you to get into a system where you're getting that kind of feedback. So we've talked about traffic, topics, and action. Now let's look at the promotion side of it. So how do I promote my blog on social? All right, well, this is the theory that kind of underlies the work that we do. It looks like this. Here's my blog. I want more traffic. Awesome. I can send it to my email. Let's say I've got 800 people on my email. Or I can send it to my Twitter followers. Let's say I got 1,200 Twitter followers, or LinkedIn, or Google+, or Facebook. So I have these options. Now, if you look at the raw numbers of followers or email subscribers, it looks kind of like this. If I add them all up, it looks like I have 4,400 people, right? Because 1,200 on my Twitter and 1,400 on Facebook, etc. But that's not actually how it works on social media, because you see, when I share with someone on Twitter, they Not everybody, obviously, but a small percentage will share it with their followers. So in fact, I actually have the potential to reach a huge audience because those social followers have a lot of social followers. And the math actually starts to look like this. Email doesn't change, of course, but with social, it changes dramatically. And actually, instead of 4,400, I might be looking at more like 38,000 people. Now, of course, not all 38,000 are going to respond, but I have that potential capture. I have that potential audience to go to. This is why, according to Andy Crestodina from Orbit Media, that 95% of bloggers promote their content on social networks. It only makes sense because I have the potential to get leverage. I have the potential to reach a much, much bigger audience than I have with my mailing list. And this is great because that means new eyeballs. New eyeballs come to my blog. They see my website. They join my list. And now they're in my community and I nurture them. So this is when I started to look at a broadcast system. So how could I create a system that would broadcast the blog out to an audience? Now, the idea of system is I can replicate it. I can, like a conveyor belt, I can put new input in, but it gets the same treatment. New blog post gets the same treatment. So this is what it might look like. Let's imagine you post your blog and then you go on to Twitter and you say, okay, right away, I'm going to send out a tweet about my blog. And then maybe 2 hours later, then maybe the next day, the next week, the next month, 2 months. So I'm going to keep giving a share on Twitter for that blog post because I know that if the half-life of a tweet is about 8 minutes, it's not going to hurt me to retweet or to share this again on Twitter. And then on Facebook, maybe I send it out the same day and maybe the next month. And then I do something similar on LinkedIn and something similar on Google+. So I have this system now where on a consistently designed basis, I will share my blog post on these 4 platforms. Of course, you can also share it, on Instagram if you want to go that way. Maybe you could share it on Pinterest if that's a good fit for your market. But I'm just showing you the 4 that I know the most about. So that's my strategy. Now that's a lot of work because you see now what you got to do is you got to start looking at variety. But the basic idea is really sound. Guy Kawasaki, who is a real bona fide expert in terms of startups, but also social media and creating a platform online. He says, if I tweeted stories only once, I would lose 75% of the traffic I could get. So he understands, I understand, the pros understand that you have to have a system to continually bring your message to your audience. So how do we recommend doing that? Well, we recommend creating variety. So let's suppose you've got that blog post written and the first time you put a tweet out there, it's actually just simply the title of the blog post, 5 ways to listen better. And then there's the shortened link and then the hashtags. And then the next time you send out the tweet, it's actually turned into a question. Hey, are you really listening? And the next time you cite a fact from the article. Truth, 83% of us are horrible listeners or whatever. Then you share a quote. With this one tweet, you can become a powerful listener. So that's a quote out of the article. Or then maybe you add intrigue. Reveal one thing all great listeners do. So you have at least 5 different approaches to the same message. So for your followers, it looks like basically a new tweet. It's the same URL, it's the same shortened link every time, but it looks like it's actually original. And then you've got a system. And now this system can be replicated so that every time a blog post goes out, you apply the same system, and then that system is rolled out across all blog posts. Well, that sounds great in theory. I mean, doesn't that sound great? Like now you have this kind of, marketing machine running behind the scenes, and every time you create a blog post. But of course, you're creating a blog post every week or every 2 weeks. So now it becomes kind of crazy to try and keep up with this sort of volume. So that's why I set about creating a done-for-you solution that would help solve this problem for bloggers. So it's a done-for-you traffic generation system. Now, I'm not here to pitch this system, but I want to explain it to you so you understand what you could create for yourself. If you want to learn more about our stuff, awesome. But let me explain to you what the thinking is behind it so you can understand what you might be able to do for yourself, or of course, you can ask us to do it. So it's called SOS. It's designed to reach more readers, and here's how it works. Basically, what happens is our clients continue to publish their blog. then we read the blog and we add curated articles, because it's really important in social media that you don't just simply self-promote. So we add about 20% of our content is actually coming from other articles that we select for that client. Then we schedule and we post them to social media. So we have a certain algorithm. We know basically what works the best, and we're going to post them on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and actually Google+. So we do all that. Next is they're going to automatically get more traffic because we're promoting them more, and they're going to get more time for their business. But the really cool thing is that the blogger, the client, only has to publish their blog. They don't need to manage us. They don't need to give us instructions. They don't need to send us files. We basically go and get all of that information off of their site, and based on the information we have on their business. So we know about their target markets. We know about what they like, don't like. We've designed a schedule for posting based on best time of day for their audience. So we've done all that work. The entrepreneur doesn't have to do anything. They just publish their blog, and then of course measure results. So what's happened now in the last 4 years is we have clients all over the world, 5 different countries, that are using this really cool system to basically leverage their blog and bring business to their blog. Now, when you search around and look at, well, what are the alternatives? Like, how could I get this done? What you see is that for everything that we're offering, if you were to go out there, for example, and hire a marketing company, you'd be looking at $1,000 to $1,500 a month, conservatively. If you were to DIY it or have your staff do it, you're looking at 3 to 4 hours a week. If you were to hire a VA, you're looking at $350 to $550 a month. So it's pretty expensive alternative. Well, I knew that that wouldn't fly. And so we actually designed our whole system to be at $197 a month, which is like crazy cheap. But it's not cheap in terms of the service. It's actually a really high quality service the way we've designed it with all the human touches. We just made it very efficient so that we can reduce the actual cost. So here's some examples of people that have enjoyed using our system. So Elaine Fries, her traffic is actually up 300% since she started with SOS. And she actually landed a $9,000 speaking engagement from one of our tweets. eSpeakers is a international company based out of Utah that does the speaker profiles for the speakers in all the international associations. Their traffic is up 241%. Lindley Craig, her traffic's up over 600%. David Newman, his traffic's up over 180%. So what we're seeing across the board is more traffic, more time back to the owner, and more business. Now, again, I don't want to make this a pitch for SOS. I'm very proud of it. I just hope that this webinar is giving you information so you can actually do things on your own if you want to. So, for example, I've been talking a lot about how to find the right topics. Well, maybe that's the first thing that you want to do, is you want to go and actually spend more time on Ask the Public, or spend more time listening to doing a survey with your list, or looking at your past blog posts and then learning which ones have actually been the most successful. Maybe that's where you want to start. Or maybe you want to start by measuring results more. That would be a great investment. So spend a few minutes and set up a simple Excel chart or in Google Sheets and start to measure the traffic and the opt-ins that you're getting every week from your blog and from your website. That would be a great way to start. Maybe you want to retrofit some of your blog posts. So you want to go back in and you want to get people to stay on your site longer. So get rid of all those external links and change them to internal links. And maybe inside the blog, you want to talk more about what you do. This is another mistake I see bloggers make, is that when I read their blog, I really have no idea what they do. They don't refer to it. I was talking to a group in Texas just earlier this week, and they work with hospice employees. So they are specialists in hospice staffing and also helping hospice employees to be more effective, but also to take better care of themselves. But I said, I'm reading your blog and I have no idea that you do that, because you don't mention it at all. Like, you talk in, it's a beautiful blog and it's well presented, but you're talking about stuff that seems unrelated. Like, it's, you're talking about end of life, but you're also talking about self-care and managing frustrations and managing depression, but why don't you just mention what you do as well? So give me an example from a recent experience working with a client. Give me an example from when you were working in a hospice. Give me an example from your training. And then I can make the connection between your blog and the work that you do. So there's a lot of things that you as an entrepreneur can do on your own. And I really encourage you to start with that. And so I wanted to help you on the way to do that. Now, I've actually never done this before, but I thought that I would offer a 30-minute blog strategy coaching session to the SLAP community. So it gives you a chance for you and me to look at your website and for me to give you some insights in terms of what I can see. Now, normally for 30 minutes, I would charge $250 for that kind of a call. And typically, I don't actually even take them unless they're already a coaching client. But I thought for the SLAP community, what I would do is I would also give you my instant writing template, which is just this. I think it's only 2 pages long, but all of my clients use this, both for writing keynotes, by the way, but also for writing their blog. So I would give that to you. I would also give you the Blog Traffic Booster, which is a 3-page report. And I only give this normally to my SOS clients. And it's the 9 things that we always recommend that they improve with their blog. And then I would also give you my report, which is 36 blog topics that readers love. It's just 2 pages long, but it's a great sort of inspirational topic report for you to get blog ideas. And also for the SLAP community, I thought, well, I'm not going to charge you $250. It just doesn't seem like that's appropriate because I don't really know you or how I can help you. So I'll just charge $49 for this 30-minute blog strategy call. You'd have to book them in February for this to work. I just don't have any time left in March, but in February, if you book them, I'm sure I can work it in. And then you need to go to hello@getsos.net. So pretty simple, hello@getsos.net. And then just in that email, you need to give me your URL. So what is the URL of your website? And then we'll take it from there. That's all you have to do. So I'd be really happy to offer whatever help I can by looking at your website, looking at your analytics if you have that opened up, and give you some insights. And those 30 minutes would probably save you hundreds of hours of grief and possibly thousands of hours of mistakes. So if you want to take advantage of that, just go to hello@getsos, so getsos.net, and just give me your URL. So what is the website address, and we'll take it from there. So let's just do a bit of a review. The big strategy that I shared earlier on in this webinar is this crazy profit pyramid. And I know it looks super complicated, but the bottom line is this. The bottom line is you need to focus on these 4 pieces. Helpful posts, really helpful posts, valuable, relevant information, leading to a free offer to build that list. I don't know how many people I've talked to. They only got 200 people, 300 people, 400 people on their list. They've been in the business for 20 years. You've got to get your list built up. It is the best way to reach your audience. And then next, number 3 is that mid-tier product. So it's going to be an ebook for sale. It's going to be a 3-video course. It's going to be your book, but it's something that people can consume to build up loyalty, but also so that you can show your expertise. And then finally, your top product. And most people have the top product. That's their consulting, coaching, speaking, whatever it is. You have that. I'm encouraging you to put all 4 pieces together. And I truly believe that if you can put all 4 of those pieces together, you have a really robust business that you can scale. If you don't have those in place, or you've got 10 things, you've got a mess. That's what you've got, is a mess. And you've allowed your creative juices to take over from your business juices. And so you need to get it down to these 4 simple things, get those working well before you start expanding. Okay, so again, the offer is, if you want to get a hold of me, you can reach out. It's really simple. Go to hello@getsos.net. Super simple, if that makes sense for you. You got to do it immediately so that we can book the call in February. It will not be available in March. Absolutely not. But if you want to do it in February, absolutely, we can fit it in. And I really hope I can serve you. I really hope this 60-minute call, and I want to thank the SLAP organizers for doing such a great job of putting this together, but I really hope this 60-minute call has been valuable for you in itself. So whether we ever talk again or not, I really hope that the simple advice that I'm sharing from you, and this has come from working with hundreds of bloggers and, quite frankly, thousands of people that are trying to make a business online, that this has really helped you to kind of point you in a direction that's going to be a little bit more effective in 2018 than the direction that you're going on. Whether that's improving the way that you measure results, or getting more strategic in terms of what you share with your audience, or simply reminding yourself that the power of consistently sharing valuable content, like more than any, if you can just consistently share valuable content, you will build success with your business, guaranteed. Because just like a magazine that I rely on reading, I need to see from you stuff that is really helpful for you to make me a loyal follower. You know, I listen to probably 6 podcasts, and I know there are thousands of podcasts, but those 6 podcasts have won me over. Why? Because they consistently produce great content for me to enjoy and to learn from. If you can do that with your website, with your blog, you will have more success than you can handle. So consistently sharing valuable content. Number 1 strategy. After that, build up your 4-part profit pyramid. And then after that, start measuring results and then changing your strategy based on results. If you're doing that, man, you are in the top 1% of online marketers that I have seen and worked with. You are in the top 1% because you actually are being strategic, as opposed to running around with great ideas, looking at the next bright shining object, jumping off this one, jumping on that one. It's hard work. It may even seem boring, but that's where the money is. The money is in being very strategic, using one system that's quite lean, and then tweaking it and improving it. And as boring as that is, that's where the profit is. So again, thank you for being on this call. Thanks to the SLAP organizers for inviting me to be on this call with you. Hope it's been super valuable. If you want to talk to me privately, please go to hello@getsos.net, share your URL. We'll set up a call. Everything will be great. All right. Thanks, everybody. It's been a real pleasure to be with you.